book and like find the answers on my own. And then I remember it better too, because I'm like, oh, that's the answer.
Good, good. Okay, yeah. So for what it's worth, um, sorry, and I just needed to make sure that I was getting our recording started for folks who can't be here. So two things. One is that a lot of us, yeah, suffer from test taking anxiety, and what happens is, we're comfortable with the material or the skills, whatever it is that we're studying, and then the quiz or the exam opens up and it's like we're deer in headlights.
Yeah.
And so there are some great strategies for coping with that. But absent those strategies, or while those strategies are developing, it's great, you're right, to be able to just know that there's not the pressure to get it right this second, that you can think about it as like limbering up and exercising, and so good, that's wonderful.
I like it so far.
Good. And I think also one of the things that is so one of the advantages of this interactive textbook is that you're supposed to be able to kind of practice as you go, and as you say, when you're and I don't know how this works because I'm not a cognitive psychologist, but when you are able to connect what you're doing with, let's say, some abstract or otherwise formal like definition or discussion of a concept, somehow that makes things sort of solidify. So good. Speaking of the quizzes, if you don't forget, everyone, that you can take the quiz, any of the quizzes that we're going to write. You can take the quiz, any number of times before the quiz closes, so that if you're not sure about something and you think it may have gone wrong, as Julianne says, you can go back into the text, find the spot find the place in the text, the section that covers that material, look it up, work with it. Don't forget too, if you want more practice than what you have in the text, let me know and I will make sure to make that available. I'm in the process of adapting existing practice from the previous text to this one. What about everything else going on? And I ask because I hope that what I'm about to say is helpful to you. I do some part-time work for a university on the East Coast, and and as you can imagine, we at a community college have some benefits of being a commuter school. We also have some drawbacks too. But one of the challenges that universities have been facing, as you can imagine, is people living on campus, and how do they cope with that in a safe way. So what I've been learning from some students, and I tend to work with the freshmen and sophomores, but particularly, but all of them are feeling a little bit dislocated. Some even isolated if they're living apart, obviously, from family, and they're in a dorm where they're in a single and they don't really get to see friends. But more to the point, with respect to what you're experiencing, let's say academically, is some of them have talked a lot about how they're having a really hard time orienting their thinking for each of their courses because the courses are laid out differently from one to the next and so forth. So one of the things that I try to talk to everybody about is the fact that if you think about your online course environment, particularly like the first week, as being like walking into a physical classroom where you've got, this instructor, not just in terms of the subject, but personalities and approaches. And, so the presentation is going to be a bit different, and you're really savvy at adapting, right? But I think what happens sometimes with us in the online environment is this is anecdotal. I'm thinking of myself and some other people I've talked to. When we go to a website, we expect uniformity because it's one website, things are going to look the same. So you go to Canvas thinking, oh, one website, right? But things look different from course to course. So, if you're having any struggles with, just getting the territory of how your class works, forget the content. Just know that A, you're not alone. B, your faculty should be there to support you. And if you have any questions, problems, confusions, and you're not getting an answer for whatever reason, don't be shy about letting me know. I can always back channel and find somebody to answer the question for you. And then obviously for our course, I want to know if something's not working right, or if you're just confused about something, let me know. The more communication that we have, the better. I'd rather you ask a question than not. Okay. So thanks for that, for sharing that, Julianne. I hope that things, continue along those same lines. Is there anybody else who either has a question, problem, confusion, or wants to say something about how things are going overall? Are you settling in okay?
I really appreciate how we have the unlimited attempts on the quizzes. I think that helps a lot.
Okay, good. Now, Hannah, just so you know, I'm really happy to hear this because what I've normally done in previous iterations of this course is make each quiz one attempt, because there's immediate feedback afterward. And so it's really nice to know that there's more than one person who likes the multiple attempts, specifically the unlimited attempts. Is it for the same reason that Julianne mentioned, like the lack of pressure that you feel?
Yeah, that's one aspect of it, and also because, like, specifically with the ones where you have to choose multiple correct answers in order for it to be completely correct. So I guess those are the most stressful questions, and that what we're doing helps a lot with those kinds.
Okay, that's really good to know, and hats off to Dr. Schnee, because that's his approach, and I decided to go ahead and adopt that because for a number of reasons. But I will definitely bear that in mind going forward. One of the things that I hope is happening is this. If you've taken the quiz and you've got a score that is okay, but you're not super excited about it, that you're not shy about going back in. Now, I know you have other things going on in your life, but really try to set aside chunks of time, a little bit every day, for this course, because it most definitely is, a matter of skills, right? So, the analog is with working out. Like, I just started to incorporate weights into my workout because I'm weak. And, I used to do tons. I was always strong, and it's a little bit, it's rough. But I know that if I just chug at it a little bit every day, I don't beat myself up for any one day not having done what I thought I was going to do, et cetera, it'll get better over time. So think of your quizzes as your chance to practice in a very low stakes way, because remember what the quizzes are worth, in a very low stakes way, but still that counts for your overall score, the skills that we're developing. Okay, anything?
Professor, I have a question.
Yeah, Abdul, what are you thinking?
I don't know if you remember, but we were communicating through email.
Yeah, I do.
The philosophy system.
Yeah, welcome.
Thank you so much. I saw the video and I went ahead and got the textbook.
Okay.
But I just wanted to see if the deadlines on the syllabus was the actual deadlines, or are they flexible?
Okay, so we have and forgive me because I'll have to actually look for the specifics, but the quizzes and exams have wiggle room. So, once the quizzes are open, they stay open for a certain period of time. And then, and that there's a due date, which is meant to kind of keep us on track. but they stay open past the due date, but then there's the deadline. Now, the reason why there's the deadline is because at that point, if you've already taken the quiz, you can see feedback. If, however, like you have joined, if however you, let's say, joined the class after the first or second week, which is what's happened in your case, then all you and I have to do is just have a conversation so that when you say, okay, I think I'm ready to do this work, right, I can make sure that the thing stays open.
Okay, so do I have to schedule an appointment
Oh,
for the
no.
office hour?
No. So it would be like, so forgive me. Let me go ahead and look. Let's look together. Bear with me for just a sec.
Okay, I'm not in front of my computer, so I'm so sorry.
Oh, don't apologize. Yeah, that's right. I see what it says. Okay, but you know what I'll do? Let me do this for the rest of the class. But Abdul, it's actually also for you because I record every class session so that anybody who can't make class or doesn't want to make class or wants to go back in and look at what we discussed together can go to the relevant week and then click on I embed the video. You can watch the video. But let me do this. So let me just talk through it because I know you're on audio. So
I actually can see, I'm on my phone, I can see your screen share.
it's not too small on your phone?
No, my phone is the X Max. So
Okay.
it's pretty,
Oh,
pretty screen.
nice. Okay. All right. So I'm going to pop over to student view so you don't have to see all the junk that I see. And where are we? So we've just begun. So we're week number 3 together. And we've got some really interesting stuff to talk about this week. I'm going to do a little bit of review before we do that. And then as you all know, we've got a bunch of videos from the textbook author. So just as a reminder, typically what I do is I have all my own videos up and then I also make reference to an author's video. But because we moved to a new textbook, same system we've been using, but a different textbook to accommodate folks who may not be able to run the programs for the other version, I thought, well, I don't have enough time to make new videos. So I've got all of Dr. Schnee's videos. I do have relevant videos that I made using the other version that, you may find helpful. But then as we scroll all the way down, we see that we have, so in this case, exam 1. So what I recommend that you do, Abdul, is this. If I go to the previous week, so we've got our first, so week number 1, we were doing some preliminary work and get to know you work, and here's what the textbook is all about work. And then week number 2, we reviewed some concepts, we got deeper into some of the essentials, and then folks started working on their quiz. Now the due date said Sunday, but it remains open. And forgive me because I don't remember. Let me click on the link. Okay, so everybody should be reminded that due dates are when you want to complete an assessment so that you're staying on track with the work. That said, though, available until is when the assessment closes, when it's no longer available. So now going back, Abdul, to your point, to your question, if you are comfortable getting to work on the first quiz sometime this week, awesome. And then if you need more time with it, you'll just let me know and then I'll just keep it open for you or I'll reopen it. Now, how do you let me know? You can just send me an email.
Okay, no, I think September 18th should be possible.
Okay. But again, I mean, I want everybody's best work. So, it's not there. If you need a little bit more time, that's not a problem.
Thank you so much.
Of course. And then the only thing that I will say at this point is, the easiest way to get in touch with me outside of office hours is email. Using Canvas, it makes a lot of sense because of the because it's just class email. In other words, I don't have to deal with administrative junk, right? So if you're in Canvas now, use Canvas email. Doesn't mean you can't use my Pierce email, but Canvas is like, that's just, I'm there for you and you alone. No other email gets thrown in. I wanted to point out one other animal that I think might be useful to you. I haven't started using it yet for us, but it's this tool called Studio. I'm over here. Can you see in the far left margin? The Studio link is going to, if I've got my understanding of it, if my understanding is correct, the Studio link is basically where I can put all sorts of videos and you can just see them all in a list rather than having to go week by week. So that's something I'm going to start taking advantage of whether or not I do it sooner rather than later, I don't know, but I just want you to know that that's a new tool that we get to use, and I really appreciate it. Okay, so back to our course. All right, so let me do this. I'm not going to stop the share, but I'm going to try to bring us back over. Bear with me for just a sec. Okay.
I just wanted to confirm one more thing.
Sure.
Professor. The book that we purchased, it was under the Pierce College section and the one that matches the section on your class.
Yes.
And the code you gave me, which brought the price down to 0.
Perfect.
Okay, I'm doing it right. Thank you.
Yeah, no, that's exactly right. And I really want you guys to be very free with telling me what's working for you, what isn't working for you, because that's a part of making the course better. So that your constructive criticism is really, really welcome. Please don't be shy about telling me things that aren't working. I love criticism. Okay, so what do we need to know? Well, first off, as we know, we're going to write an exam. So before we start on some new stuff, let me go back into, sorry, I clicked on something I shouldn't have done. Let me go back into week number 3. And I'm going to scroll down to the link for our first exam. I'm just going to push the tiles out of the way for just a second. It should be the case that all this information is helpful to you. And then it should also be the case that you recognize that for an exam, our wiggle room is, our window is narrower from between the due date and the close date. Okay. If of course you run into some sort of trouble, where you find that you're just not going to reasonably be able to make the deadline, the available until date, let me know, right? Stay in communication with me. But we've got the due date to keep us on track. We've got the deadline or the available until, so that we know that everybody, like I can have a sense of how everybody's really doing, right? So that's why we want those. It's also the case that the exercise style and format should look familiar to you. Okay, so just to remind ourselves about what we've been discussing, we want to know, so our crucial concept of everything we've discussed is the concept of entailment. If we understand the concept of entailment, we already understand what an argument is, the parts of an argument, namely what a premise is, what a conclusion is. We understand the relationship between premise and conclusion in terms of what I've called an inferential flow, right? We also, when we talk about entailment, what we also understand is that we're talking about how the form of the argument is what makes the conclusion necessarily the case, when we accept the premises. Now, that's not as elegant a way of putting things as follows, which is a little bit better, namely that when we say that an argument's conclusion is entailed by the premises or premise, we're saying that if the premises or premise is or are true, the conclusion must be true. Another way to say it is that true premises guarantee the conclusion. There's no way to reject the conclusion without generating or involving yourself in a contradiction. We can also say that the information in the premises is sufficient. There's nothing else you need. The information in the premises forces you to accept the conclusion. Recall also that that forcing, if you will, the notion of entailment is entirely formal or structural, so that it really doesn't matter what the content is. So as a reminder, one of your go-tos, if you want to just remember what we're saying when we talk about validity, entailment, right? Formal structure, logically guaranteeing the truth of the conclusion. Remember the difference between moon is made of green cheese or blue cheese, right? Moon is made of green cheese or blue cheese. It's not blue cheese, so it's green cheese. Same form, same structure, different content, right? Barack Obama or Mitt Romney was the 44th president of the United States. Mitt Romney was not the 44th president of the United States, so had to have been Mitt Romney. Each of those arguments shares the same form or structure. The difference is that the green cheese argument, while valid, does not have all true premises, which is to say, remember another technical concept, the argument is valid but unsound, whereas the Barack Obama argument is valid and sound. So a sound argument is valid and the premises are actually true. An unsound argument can be valid or it can be invalid, right? But if the argument is valid but unsound, the premises, at least one, are not all true. Now, I know I haven't shown you this week. I'm verbalizing it. Here's a question for you. I want you to think about how your mind works. Do you find yourself getting a little lost in the discussion? And insofar as you say, Mia, slow down. I get it, but slow down. Or do you say, yeah, I got it, I'm good, let's go. There's no right answer. I'm just doing this very quick verbal review of some of the significant elements for our first exam. And these are so crucial to the work we're doing as we go forward. We'll also do a little bit of review when we move forward to new material this week, so that you'll see concepts sort of piggybacking off each other. Okay. But think about how your mind works. Cameron, what are you thinking?
Oh, I was going to say, I got kind of derailed when the textbook got modal and went into necessary and contingent. It just threw a wrench in the whole thing for me, kind of.
I'm only chuckling because you said the textbook got modal. Yes. Okay. So here's one way to get into that concept, which, by the way, is going to feel better as we work on the Boolean Connectives. And when I say that concept, I mean the concept of necessity. Okay, so let's think about it this way. First, is everybody comfortable with what it means to say that an argument's premises entail its conclusion?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. So when we try to falsify the conclusion of a valid argument, we run into a contradiction. And Cameron, bear with me. I'm getting to where you want to go. So, sorry, I got to fix my sock. Okay, so does everybody remember the kid that I made cry?
I think so.
Yeah. Tell me. Okay, good, because this is like one of my most favorite things to do. And don't worry, I haven't done it for real. I just fantasize about doing this. Namely, telling a kid, hey, kid, you like candy, right? Well, guess what? I got candy, and it's in this hand or this hand. And of course, the kid, you know, they're all little gluttons, right? Little jam hands. They want candy. So the kid's like, yeah! Candy's in this hand or this hand. Yeah. Okay, kid. So you agree candy's in this hand or this hand. Guess what? It's not in this hand. And now the kid is going apoplectic, right? Not angry apoplectic. I think there's another sense of the word. The kid's going nutso, right? The kid's like, yeah, it's in this hand. It's in this hand. And what do? Ha ha. Sorry, let me just bask in that for a moment. The kid's eyes well up with tears. The lower lip trembles. Right? And the tears they're flowing like a waterfall. And I'm laughing. Now, you know, the kid's parent comes up and is like, Mia, what are you doing to my child? I'm like, life is really hard. This is a start, okay? They got to learn this stuff. Then they'll read Schopenhauer. It'll be much better then. Okay. Now, the kid is a little bit, you know, feeling better because the parent is there. So now the kid's feeling like a little ballsy, and the kid goes, nah! What does the kid do? What does the kid accuse me of doing?
Being deceitful.
Yeah, Berman, thank you. So what sort of deceit? The kid says, you
lied?
Yes. Okay, let's pull it all together. I lied. Yes, I did. I lied. Right? Question for you. Which was the lie? You've got two options. Kid, I've got candy in this hand or this hand. It's not in this hand. Which of those two sentences is the lie?
The first one.
Right. I got the kid to accept that this sentence, kid, there's candy in one hand or another. I got the kid to accept that sentence as true. And the kid's a really good logician. On the assumption that there's candy in one hand or the other, and it's not in the one, what else is left? It's got to be in the other. So when it turns out that it's false to say I have candy in the other hand, it must be the case that I lied, that the first sentence is false. But now let's go back to the great question that Cameron asked about necessity, right? The facts are that sentence 1 is false, sentence 2 is true, sentence 3 is false. If, however, we accept sentences 1 and 2 as true, the third sentence, the inference, is necessarily true. Just as a matter of deductive logic. Yeah? So, necessity is what must be the case. In the example that I've given you, it's what must be the case based on the formal features of the reasoning. But we can also talk about necessity in terms of just individual sentences. So let me pause right there. First, Cameron, does it make sense for me to go back to the concept of validity to start talking about the concept of necessity?
I mean, I can get the questions right, but I just don't understand or believe what I put as the right answer. So I don't think so. I mean, I think I got it. I just am incredulous.
Okay. All right. So when you say you don't believe and you say you're incredulous, am I right to say that you kind of feel like you're disoriented, that it doesn't make sense, that you're like playing mental twister?
Yeah.
Okay.
Does it make sense to say that necessity is based on the internal logic? Like it's internal to what's there?
Yeah.
That's correct? Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. Yeah. And what, by the way, what you've described really nicely is, and I've said this before, it's like puberty. It sucks, but it's normal and natural. You know, I've told folks this on more than one occasion. Nobody's worse at logic than I am. I mean, I continue to be horrible at logic. I have to go really slowly. I'm, you know, I don't, for whatever reason, my mind works the way it does, and this is hard for me. Some stuff is easy for me. This is not, right? So I think, and you guys are already better at this than I'll ever be. But when you do run into these confusions, just note that that you're having the confusion, that you're experiencing the sort of the imbalance that Cameron so nicely mentioned. But know that we want to be able to separate, for our work, we want to be able to separate form from content, right? Structure from fact, if you will. It doesn't mean that we don't want the truth. It doesn't mean that we don't want, you know, to know what the facts are. But what we're thinking about is, in particular, the ways that sentences constitute an argument, and that the argument is structured in such a way as to yield or not a truth. Now, because of the structure, because of the focus on structure, the content, and this is what throws us off balance oftentimes, you know, the content can be a little bit distracting, right? So one of the things that we did, for example, last week, I think it was we talked about some cases where we could, or let me rephrase that. We looked at some exercises where we could kind of leverage our content knowledge to see intellectually the structure issue. So for example, we had, let's see, hold on just one second. Let me go into text. Okay. So I'm typing on top of our web page, right? So we had a couple of examples. We had, so premise 1 was, if I have 10 pennies, I have 10 cents. Premise 2 was, I have 10 pennies. And then the inference, the conclusion was, I have 10 cents. Now I say that I tried to kind of piggyback, if you will, off of our content knowledge in order to see the structure. We all know that having 10 pennies guarantees that you have 10 cents, right? So we understand the concept. But I could easily just do this instead. Premise 1, if A, then B. Premise 2, A, conclusion, so B. Okay, can everybody see this okay? I think I can change the font color. Right? What do we think? So it's the form of the reasoning, not the content, that guarantees the conclusion. It is the form of the content of the premise, or sorry, rephrase, not the form of the content, please. It is the form of the argument Specifically, it's the form of the premises working together that entails the conclusion. Okay. And what we can do, and this was another animal that we were working on last week, we can see the difference, again, by way of kind of piggybacking off of leveraging our content knowledge, we can see the difference between an entailed conclusion and a conclusion that's not entailed. So premise one, actually, let me do this because I think I'll might be easier. I'm gonna copy paste and mess about with some stuff. So I have, this was the one I think last week, Hannah, you were working on really nicely, and I messed up because I didn't put my pennies and cents in the right order. Okay, so, right, does everybody see the final example? If I have 10 pennies, I have 10 cents. I have 10 cents, so I have 10 pennies. And Hannah, I think it was, said, not necessarily. I could have 2 nickels. I could have a dime. I could have a nickel and 5 pennies. So Cameron, notice the not necessarily language means that the premises in this last example here, the premises do not entail the conclusion. The premises do not guarantee the conclusion. And it doesn't matter if the premises are true or not. Assuming they're true, and even if, they won't force you to the conclusion. So does that notion of necessity, that is the relation between premises and conclusion, make some sense? What do we think? And just to finish this off, let me go ahead and give you the form of the second argument. Okay, right? So first argument, both iterations, right? So these two are yay, these two are examples of arguments that are valid. And then I guess it's going to make me change the color for the whole thing. Oh well. Anyway. These two are the same form. Anything you pour into this form is valid. These two are invalid. Anything you pour into these are invalid. Now, the if-then form, which we were talking about a bit last week, we won't see again for another few chapters. We'll come back to it. But what we are going to start to look at is, as you were talking about, Cameron, the internal structure of an individual sentence. So, for example, we'll be able to determine, based on the internal structure of an individual sentence, when it's true and when it's false. We'll be able to determine also, as a result of the true and false values, we'll be able to determine if the sentence is self-contradictory, which is to say always false, or if it is contingently true, or if it is necessarily true. On the definition front, does it make sense to say that a logically necessary sentence is a sentence that can never be false? There will be no world, if you will, in which that sentence comes out false. For example, and we'll be able to see this today because we're going to start looking at the Boolean connectives. The sentence, either Cameron loves logic, or it's not the case that Cameron loves logic. That sentence has to be true. Not because of you, Cameron, as important as you are, right? But because of the structure of the sentence. We've got this, the same simple sentence or atomic sentence, which is the sentence Cameron loves logic, right? And then we've got the either or formulation. And then we've got a negation of that atomic or simple sentence. So that's where we're headed. Okay, so before we move on, how are we doing with our review of most of the most important items for our first exam?
You go over sentences that are or aren't contingent.
Yes. Okay, so let's do this. I'm going to erase because otherwise, as you guys know, this will just follow us wherever we go. Okay, so what might be useful am I right about this? Sorry, I'm still learning the text with you. So, hold on just a sec. Oh, yeah, sorry, I'm in the wrong place. Okay. So, just so that, just as a reminder, for me too, right? The discussion of necessarily true versus contingently true sentences is in Chapter 2, Section 4. And let's go ahead and think about what we're saying as follows. Piggybacking off of a formulation that Cameron used just a little bit ago when he was talking about the internal structure, if you will, of a sentence. When we look at a sentence that we say could be true, could be false, right? So think about what your intellectual gut is saying. When we look at a sentence that to which we respond could be true, could be false, and let's say we're correct in our assessment, we're looking at a sentence that is called contingent. Another way to put it is that it is true or it is false, depending upon or contingent on what the facts on the ground are. Right? So if we, think about, so here's a sentence. Today is Tuesday. Right? Given that I'm uttering this sentence on a day of the week when I look at my calendar that says Tuesday, the sentence is true. Right? But tomorrow or yesterday, had I uttered the sentence is false. So a sentence that is contingently true is true depending on what the facts are, right? Now, I use the term facts loosely because, as we'll see, there are ways to think about contingently true sentences that are not so much about the facts that we know, but are the possible facts. And let me just give you a quick heads up on it, not because I want to confuse you, but I actually think it might help as we go forward, but also help you to understand where we are now with this discussion. Okay, so I don't see anybody right now, but earlier I saw Julianne, and if my memory is accurate, the sentence, Julianne wears glasses, is true. Okay? So, sentence 1 is Julianne wears glasses. Now, you can see me. Is it true or false that I'm wearing glasses? It's false. Now let's take these two sentences together. Is the sentence, Julianne and Mia wear glasses, true or false? And your response is, well, the sentence is false. It's not the case that both are wearing glasses, right? But I put my glasses back on, and let's go ahead and assume that Julianne is wearing glasses. Now the sentence, Julianne and Mia wear glasses, is true. So does it make sense, Hannah, to say that the sentence is possibly true or false, depending on the facts? But as we're going to see, if you understand what the and means, then you understand whether or not a sentence that is an and sentence is true or false without knowing what the facts are. Does that make sense?
Yes, that makes sense.
Yeah?
Yeah, that
How-
was a good example.
That works okay? Okay. How about everybody else? What are you guys thinking? What are you folks thinking? And no, I'm not asking the question as an excuse to eat, but I'm going to eat anyway. I hope I'm not making anybody hungry. Okay, are we ready for a necessary sentence? Earlier I said the sentence, either Cameron loves logic or Cameron doesn't loves Really, Mia? Loves? Either Cameron loves logic or Cameron doesn't love logic is true. Always. Right? There's no world, again, if you will, there's no world in which that sentence could be false. Right? It either is or it isn't. It doesn't matter what the content is. We can say either caflazzles are or caflazzles aren't. And you'd say, well, what's a caflazzle? And say, I don't know, it doesn't matter. It's the structure of the sentence itself, as we'll see as we go forward, right? That forces us to say this sentence is always true. Some people call it a trivially true sentence, in the sense that it doesn't sort of teach us anything, but it's still good to know that it's an always true sentence. Thoughts? How are we doing so far?
I'm good.
Thank you, Hannah. Does anybody else feeling better, worse, the same? And don't forget, right? A lot of times we're absorbing. So that process, you got to give yourself time for that, which is again why we want to practice.
Is the statement Mia wears glasses by itself necessary or contingent, or does it need the rest of the argument to be?
Great question. So, as we'll see, sentences that are not complicated by a connective, and we'll see there are the Boolean connectives or further connectives, propositional connectives. Sentences that aren't compounded by a connective are almost always going to be contingently true. That said, consider the following example. If I say Albert is Albert, or I say Mark Twain is Samuel Clemens, right? If I make an identity statement, the symbol for the identity is it's not a connective in the way that we say that negation, conjunction, disjunction, and the other two that we'll get to later are connectives. But an identity statement is necessarily true. So there are what are known as first order logic first order logic statements that are necessarily true sentences. But going back to your point, Mia wears glasses. It's not a necessity. Now, think about it this way. You might say something like this, right? But Mia, you must wear glasses. It's necessary that you wear glasses in order to read because you don't see well up close. And my response to that is, okay, fair enough, but that's a different sense of necessity. Does that make sense to say? In other words, that's a physical necessity, right? So I have a physical issue, right? Or think about it this way. If I say, you know what, I want to fly and I'm going to levitate right now. Is everybody ready? And you all laugh at me and you say, no, Mia, you're not going to levitate. It's impossible. It's necessarily the case that you're going to stay on the ground. That's physical necessity, right? Logical necessity, going back to your excellent point, is a matter of the structure of the language. So the vast majority of our simple or atomic sentences, and that notion will make more sense as we go forward, are going to be contingently true.
Okay, so that by itself is necessarily true, but it needs more to be contingently true.
Which by itself?
The wears glasses.
It might be a physical necessity. It's not a logical necessity.
I'm just like, I just start to sweat when you start adding things.
No, don't sweat. But okay. So think about it this way. Can you envision a world in which 2020, baby, I don't need any glasses? Can you, when I say envision, can you conceive of a world in which Mia doesn't need glasses?
Yes.
Okay. Sorry, I have to. Stuart Stuffy Chunks Thompson is coming up. He's actually trying to get my food. Okay. So how about this? Can you conceive of a world in which my dog Stuart is not interested in my tacos?
I don't understand.
Okay, so you can conceive of a world in which I don't wear any glasses at all for any reason.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, you guys don't know Stewie. You folks don't know Stewie, but Stewie he'll eat anything. I mean, we used to, when we walk along the streets of LA, and he could smell like a burrito on the sidewalk that somebody had dropped and just slurp it up before I could stop him, right? I mean, he's shameless. Chocolate donuts, chocolate's bad for dogs. He'd just slurp it right up, no problem. But can you conceive of a world in which the dog doesn't want the taco, the burrito, the chocolate donut?
Yes, you can conceive that it's possible.
Okay, so the physical, right, necessity is only because of my current conditions. It's not like it's impossible for there to be a world in which I don't wear glasses, right? So this idea of a physical necessity it's what's happening right here, right now, right? Does that make sense? On the other hand, is there a world in which it's possible that A is not identical to A?
No.
Right.
Probably not.
Say the last part again.
Probably not.
More than probably not, Berman. It's you can't. Right? You cannot say that there is a world in which A is not identical to itself. That's just by definition what identity means, yeah? Does that make sense? How about this? Can you conceive of a world in which the sentence, either Cameron loves logic or Cameron doesn't love logic, is false.
They can't both be false.
Right.
Is that what you're?
Right. Right. So the sentence, so I'm sort of doing a visual with my hands. Either Cameron does, or it's not the case that Cameron does love logic. That sentence must be true. And it doesn't matter what the world is. Right? Gravity may be necessary here on Earth, but talk to the space people. No more gravity. So when you and I typically talk about necessity, we're typically talking about kind of what the laws of physics demand, right? Or we're being very fast and loose with the word. But from the standpoint of logic, a necessity is a sentence that can never be false. Right? Can everybody see Walter behind me?
Yes.
You're so cute. Okay, so the sentence, Walter is Walter, can't be false. I mean, I can certainly imagine a world, it's horrible to do so, but I can imagine a world in which Walter doesn't exist. But the sentence, Walter is identical to Walter, is true in any possible world. It will never be false. So what I'm asking you guys to do, what you guys are being asked to do in this course, is you're being asked to think about, and this is one of the reasons why I love, logic, because it does two things for me anyway at once. It gets me to stretch a bit, and it also makes me be more careful than I normally am. I have a tendency to be a little bit sloppy, right? So I'm not saying you're sloppy, but it is a great sort of disciplining exercise. So what you're being asked to do, and this is the stretchy part, is you're being asked to think about, in this case, the concept of necessity in a way that's rather different from maybe what you're used to, right? And that's really cool because it's another way to think about it. I mean, I don't know how many of you speak multiple languages, but those of you who speak more than one language, the conceptual stretchiness and flexibility you have. It's an amazing skill. The intellectual robustness of your thinking is just automatically improved by the facility you have moving through more than one language, right? And logic is doing something very similar. We are learning, in a sense, especially when we get to the symbolic part, we're learning a new language. So we're going to be stretched. So think of necessity. Don't give up your ordinary ways of thinking about necessity, but just know that we're talking about necessity in a very specific way. What do we think? And I think too, if you're willing to, if you're good to go forward with the stuff we want to talk about for this week, it's, this stuff scaffolds. So it's not like you're moving on to stuff and abandoning what you need to know for exam one. You're building on it, and it will retroactively improve the work that you do this week. So what I'm going to do is pull forward, again, a, whoopsie, that was an accident. Why'd you do that, machine? or Word. I'm going to pull forward a Word document, and I'm going to ask us to start building on what we already know. Okay, so let's start with some examples, at least one of which you already know. Okay, all right, so how about this? I have candy in my left hand or my right hand. I do not have candy in my left hand, so I have candy in my right hand. Right? So give me an example. Who is a, I don't know, a performer, a singer, actor, whatever, who is really, really popular and goes by multiple names?
Dwayne Johnson for one.
Okay. Thank you. Oops. Sorry. I didn't turn my phone off. Okay. The Rock is identical with... Does he spell his name that way, or is it with a W?
What
It's
about
with
the
a Y.
Uh-oh.
Yeah.
Oh, crap. Sorry. So wait, what? Do that? No. That?
Yeah.
Okay. What's the name of the last movie he was in? I'm not gonna lie, I saw one, it was really good.
Jumanji, I think.
Oh, I didn't see that one, but yeah, thank you, Abdul, that's a good one. Okay. The Rock, starred in Jumanji. So, oopsie. Dwayne Johnson starred in Jumanji. Okay, so let's start with some fundamentals of moving from our ordinary English, which is what each of these sentences written in, to the notational system that we'll use for the rest of our work together. We'll build on it even more a little bit later. But for right now, we want to get started on the first part. So what I'm going to do is separate out our sentences as follows. I'm going to use a capital L to stand for the following. I have candy in my left hand. I'm going to use R for I have candy in my right hand. Now, one of the reasons why we take what's known as a simple or atomic sentence and rewrite it with some capital letter A through Z is when we get to longer arguments, having the shorthand is going to make it much easier to work with the argument. Sometimes also it just makes it easier to see what the structure of the argument is, and also what the structure of the sentences are that make up the argument. Now, it's arbitrary, me using L and R, right? As long as we're consistent, it doesn't matter. So I'm using L, I'm using R to stand for, respectively, I have candy in my left hand, candy in my right hand. Now, I mentioned earlier that the sentence I have candy in my left hand is simple or atomic. Now, the language of atomic sentence might sound weird because, we know that atoms are reducible. Sadly, we found that out, right? But before we knew that an atom was divisible, We thought it was the smallest unit that could not be further divided, that couldn't be broken down further. And so logicians called the simplest sentence an atomic sentence. And here's the short way of thinking about a simple sentence. A simple sentence is one that is either true or false and doesn't have any connective. Now you might say, but Mia, I don't know yet what a connective is. That's okay, you will. So, here's an example of a simple sentence. I ran. Right? I is the subject. The verb ran is the predicate. That's the smallest linguistic entity, or that's an example of the smallest linguistic entity that has a truth value, right? I sat, I sang, I ate, I slept, right? We've got two elements. But we can have an atomic or simple sentence with lots of elements, like with dependent clauses. Here's also a simple sentence. Barack Obama was the 44th president of the United States. That's a long sentence, right? In terms of lots of words. It still is a simple sentence because there's no connective. What are the connectives? I'll tell you. We have right now three of them. So the Boolean connectives, well, I guess I should do it the way that Ian does it. Well, no, his name was Boole. The Boolean connectives are conjunction, let me start with negation. Negation, conjunction, and disjunction. So I'll tell you what each of these means, and then we'll talk about the symbolization. Negation is not, or it's not the case that. Conjunction is and. We also have both and. Loads of words actually are translated from ordinary English into the symbolic notation we'll learn for conjunction. So for example, we've got moreover, oopsie, nevertheless, still, and so forth. And then the last one is, for our purposes, disjunction, and that's or, that's also either or. We can also use unless, although some people like to translate unless as an if-then. Okay, so when you look at this argument, the first one, the candy argument, which connectives can you see?
I see or.
Beautiful. So we've got or. What else do we have?
For negation,
Beautiful. Okay. All right, here we go. I have candy in my left hand or my right hand. It's not the case that it's in my left hand, so it's in my right hand. Just as a quick FYI, folks, I'm used to and this is just convention, there's nothing important about it. I'm used to separating out my elements, so my atomic sentence from my other atomic sentence and from the disjunction in this case. But just so you know that the way that the system was written for our textbook, we don't use any spaces. And there are a couple of symbolic logic notations, like we're using the tilde or the tilde for negation. Some other versions of the system might use what's known as a hook. But the reason why Dr. Schnee uses the connectives that he does, the symbolic notation for it, is because it's easy to do even on your phone. So he was really mindful of the fact that some people want to or have to work on their phone. Okay, so does this make sense? Simple sentence, and then sandwiched between the two simple sentences is the disjunction. And then always to the left of whatever is rejected or negated is your tilde. How are we doing? So far, so good? Here are a couple more examples. So earlier we said something like this. We said, Julianne and Mia wear glasses. So what do you want to use for the simple sentences that make up this compound sentence? In other words, what letters do you want to use?
Just J and M.
Sure. J stands for Julianne wears glasses. M stands for Mia wears glasses. And then, are you ready for our symbolic logic notation? Remember what Hannah just said. She said J and M. So J and M, but now let's get our notation for logic. We're going to say J ampersand M. Okay. Question for you, because I want us to anticipate where we're headed. If it's hold on just one second, let me find what I want. Okay. All right, so J. Hold on, I gotta erase that. I'm trying to write with my right hand. It's not going well. Hold on, let me try again. Ah, crap. Still not going well. I'm gonna try it with my left. I'm a lefty.
I can even do the hand symbol on pencil and paper.
You what, Berman?
I can't even do the
You
hand
can- oh.
symbol on pencil.
I get so mixed up. Well, thank goodness we've got the whoosy what's it, the keypad. Okay, so I've drawn a line because I'm going to write out what are known as possible truth values. So let's suppose it's true that Julianne is wearing glasses, or Julianne wears glasses. Excuse me, and it's true that Mia wears glasses. Is it true that both do?
Yes.
Okay, now, Hannah, you sound tentative. Why?
Oh no, that wasn't me.
Oh, I'm sorry, Julianne. It was you. I'm sorry. Yeah. So talk a little bit about why you're tentative. So, if it's true that Julianne does, it's true that Mia does. Is it true or false that both do? And you said true.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. You know this. You know this. And there's no sort of I promise there's nothing sort of hidden here. Okay. So now next one. So let's suppose that, Julianne, it's true you're wearing glasses, but you know what? Look, I took mine off. Is it true that both of us do?
So now it's false.
Right. Okay. Any anticipations of where we're going with this? Now suppose that it's false that Julianne wears glasses, but it's true, wait a minute, here we go, that Mia wears glasses. What do we say? Is it true or false that both of us do?
That's false again.
Yeah, beautiful. Okay. And then finally, it's false that Julianne wears glasses, It's false that Mia wears glasses. Is it true or false that we both wear glasses?
Would it be true? No, this would be false.
Yeah. So tell me a little bit about what you're thinking. So you know, you look at me and you see it's false that I wear glasses, and you see Julianne. Julianne's not wearing glasses, so the sentence Julianne is wearing glasses is false. If it's false that Julianne does, it's false that Mia does. Is it true or false that both of us are wearing glasses? And you would say, oh, well, it's false. Neither one of you is wearing glasses. Yeah?
Yes.
Okay, good. So, what you've just got, or sorry, what you've just done, is you have worked what is known as the truth definitions for the conjunction sentence. So, any sentence that is governed by or driven by a conjunction is going to be true in one case only, and that's when each of the conjuncts is true. In every other case, the sentence is false. And I just used the Julianne wears glasses, Mia wears glasses example because we had used it before. But any sentence in the universe that has conjunction as its driver, we know has 4 possible values. Does it make sense to say there are no other combinations that we can come up with for T's and F's here?
Yes.
So if we have these 4 possible values and those possibilities exhaust what could be, then we see that the conjunction is contingently true. What do you think?
Oh, sorry, my internet cut out right when you said that.
Cliffhanger!
Yeah, you said it's
Contingently true.
yeah, contingency true.
Yeah, good. Okay. Are we ready for another one? Let's do a negation. So hold on just a sec. Let me go back to regular old type. Oh wait. Come on, go back to type. Sorry. I don't know how to go back to just regular old text.
If you click on draw one more time, it might deactivate it. Oh no, sorry. You click on draw
Yeah.
and then click on draw on the left hand side under home.
Oh, super awesome. Thanks, Abdul.
No problem.
Hold on, let me just erase this. Okay, wait, no, but then I have to click on this again, right? Okay, good, awesome. Okay, so let's just review really quickly. We know the connective that represents what's known as a the symbol that represents the connective known as a disjunction is that lowercase v. And we're going to talk about the ways in which that a sentence governed by disjunction can be true, can be false. And then, but let's first, though, go with the negation. So I started with the conjunction because it tends to be the most straightforward of our connectives in terms of understanding the conditions under which a sentence governed by a conjunction is true or false. Another way we can think about these truth values is that the connective, the symbol, is it tells you what function to perform, right? So the conjunction, the disjunction, the negation is an analog, if you will, to like the plus sign, right? The plus sign tells you what function to perform. So does conjunction, right? So the conjunction is the connective that asserts both. Both what? Well, you need to know what the values are of each of the conjuncts in order to know if the sentence is true or false. Okay, so let's go ahead and look at the negation. Oh, I see. That's weird. So for some reason, when I go to, I'm trying to go below this drawing, but I'm not able to. All right, so no worries. What I'm going to do is let me just go back to the sentence that we were talking about earlier with respect to Cameron loving logic. Okay, so here's a sentence. Cameron loves logic. Oops. And I'm going to make C stand for the sentence Cameron loves logic. And by the way, just I hope you're comfortable with the fact that I'm using identity here as a way to just say this is what this capital letter stands for. Now we've got the sentence. It's not the case that Cameron loves logic. So we've got the negation, right? It's not the case that. And what we get for our symbolic notation is negation C. Okay, how are we doing? Is everybody okay with this so far?
Yes.
Okay, so with negation C, we want to understand what's known as the truth definitions for the negation, which is to say, we want to understand under what conditions the negation is true or false. So let's try this. I'm just thinking about going to the disjunction after. Yeah, I'll just do it this way. Okay, so we'll go back to draw. And I'm going to, I hope this will work and that I don't end up drawing over the other animal. Cameron, it's true that you love logic, isn't it?
Is this part of the exam?
Yeah.
What are you asking?
Yeah, no, I'm asking. And you're going to say, yes, Mia, it's true I love logic.
Yes, Mia, it's necessarily true.
No, not necessarily true.
No.
Don't say that. Yeah, thank you. Okay, all right. I know. Don't mean to give you your line reading, but... Okay, so if it's true that Cameron loves logic, what's the value of the sentence? It's not the case that true. It's not the case that Cameron loves logic is...
False.
Yeah. Okay. Now, Cameron, you're in a super bad mood. Hold on, you guys. I'm going to try and do something that There we go. Ha! This is going to be better. Okay. All right. Going back to draw. Cameron, you're in a super bad mood. Is it true or false that you love logic right now? You're so confused.
I don't love logic.
So it's false that you love logic, which means when you say I don't love logic, because saying I love logic is false, I don't love logic is?
True.
Yeah.
True.
I know, sorry, you guys, I confused everybody because I had a whole bunch of knots there. Is it fair to say that the negation always rejects the value that is being negated? Right?
Yes.
So if it's true that Cameron loves logic, the sentence, it's not the case that Cameron loves logic is false. Right? Hey, I'm at the library. We're on the phone together. I'm at the library. No, you're not, Mia. It's false that you're at the library. I'm at the library. You're nowhere to be found. Does that make some sense? How are we doing?
So with every statement that is like this, there can always be an alternative.
Yeah. So does everybody hear what Hannah just said? What she's talking about when she's talking about these possible truth values is she's talking about the contingency of the connectives. Remember, this goes back to at least one chapter previous to where we are now. Every sentence is either true or false, right?
Yes.
There are sentences that must be true. There are sentences that must be false. Insofar as these sentences that we're looking at are defined by possible truth values, they are either true or false. They're contingently true or false. All right, are we ready for a logically true or a necessarily true sentence, aka a necessity? Yes. All right. I'm glad you said that. Okay, so hold on because I need to move all this stuff down, I think. No, actually, you know what I'll do? Let me do this instead. Okay, so let's keep the sentence Cameron loves logic. Or Julianne wears glasses. Right? Now, these two sentences individually, right? Rephrase. Together, these two sentences are they don't go together, right? Cameron loves logic or Julianne wears glasses. You're like, yeah, okay, right? What we want to think about in this case is what the or means, right? So let's suppose that it's true that Cameron loves logic, but we don't know anything about Julianne's glass wearing situation. If it's true that Cameron loves logic, is the sentence Cameron loves logic or Julianne wears glasses true?
Can you repeat?
No.
Okay, so we have a no, and then we have a can you repeat? The sentence is rephrase. We're saying that the sentence Cameron loves logic is true.
Okay.
Now, given what we know about Cameron loving logic, is the sentence Cameron loves logic or Julianne wears glasses true?
Well, there's no way we could know.
Okay. Let's try this.
Not connected.
Yeah, they're not
If
connected.
there's an or, it's true.
Ah, okay. So the fact that they're not connected might throw us off. So let's take what Abdul said, and we'll use that as our starting point. So I'm going to do this, and then I'll erase it in a moment. If it's true that Cameron loves logic, it doesn't matter what we know to be true or false about Julianne. Let me give you another example to piggyback off of what Abdul said. Okay. Let's suppose that we go back to the sentence about, we use the Julianne sentence wearing glasses, and let's use the sentence Mia wears glasses. Okay. None of us can see Julianne right now, right?
Yes.
Okay. So you can see me. Is the sentence Mia wears glasses true?
That's true.
Given that it's true Mia wears glasses, is the sentence Mia or Julianne wears glasses true?
Yes.
Yes. This
There.
one, you are wearing glasses.
Good. All right. Beautiful. So here's what you want to know about the disjunction. As long as one of the disjuncts is true, the disjunction itself is true. Okay, so let me change our color here. The only time that a disjunction is false is when each of the disjuncts is false. Right? So if it's false that Cameron loves logic and it's false that Julianne wears glasses, it's false that either Cameron loves logic or Julianne wears glasses. If it's false that Mia wears glasses, if it's false that Julianne wears glasses, then it's false that either one of them does. Another way you can think about the disjunctions values here, the definitions, and I'll just circle the one row on which the sentence is false, is the disjunction says at least one. At least one or the other is the case. What do we think? So far, so good?
I think so.
Okay. Now, before we return to the really great questions you were asking earlier about contingency and necessity, excuse me, let me, shoot, what was I going to say? Hold on. I need to get my thought back. Sometimes that happens. I'm just talking and then I have no idea what I'm saying. So hold on. Yeah. Okay. So we need to have this discussion. I think we're in a position to have this discussion about what we were trying to talk about earlier in terms of contingency and necessity. Does it make sense? So, but before we do that, does it make sense to say that each of these connectives symbolized by respectively the ampersand for conjunction, the tilde for negation, and the lowercase v for disjunction, each of these connectives is defined by the values of the atomic sentences or simple sentences, right? That they operate on. So these are sometimes called operators. The negation operates on the value of the sentence it's negating. The ampersand operates on, in this case that we were talking about earlier, J, M. The disjunction operates on C, J. But more specifically than the individual sentence that the operator or connective operates on is, we're talking about it operating on the truth values. So the meaning of the disjunction combined with the original value that the disjunction operates on is going to yield these four possibilities. So far, so good. One way you can think about the disjunction and the conjunction is that they're like joints. They're like hinges. They are always sandwiched in between sentences. They bring sentences together. The negation is, it's almost like a screwdriver or a hammer, if we want to keep this idea of, hinges and tools and so forth alive. The negation sort of functions by way of working on a sentence as opposed to joining sentences together. Okay, so in order for us to have the most of our screen, I'm just going to bring up a new Word document, and I'd like us to go back to that sentence that we were talking about earlier. Cameron is or is not a logic lover. Okay. How many simple sentences do we have? Not how many iterations, but how many simple sentences are there? In other words, how many capital letters are there?
Two.
2 capital letters. Are they the same or different?
Same.
So we have 1 simple sentence, right? They could each be true, right?
Yes.
One is negating the other one, so it can't be both true.
Well, we're talking about just the sentence, the simple sentence itself. Yeah?
Okay.
Okay. So, what's the other possible value? Right? Okay. Now, question for you, because now we're getting into some more sophisticated territory. We'll talk about more, but I want to kind of prey upon your intellectual intuitions. What sort of sentence is this? In other words, you've got a disjunction and you've got a negation. Is this sentence governed by the disjunction or is it governed by the negation? Another way to ask the question is this a disjunction or a negation sentence? And go ahead and
And negations on this?
okay, hold on just one second. When you read what I've just typed, what do you emphasize?
Or?
Yes. Look, he does or he doesn't. Right, sorry, Cameron, I don't know what pronoun to go to. Cameron, does or doesn't? Okay, so this is an or. But you're right, we also have a negation, so we don't want to forget that. Okay, so this is crucial now. Since the sentence is governed by the disjunction, we're going to determine its possible values last. Think about it this way. When we've got a compound sentence, that is a sentence that involves one or more connectives, one or more of these symbolic logic operators, then we're going to determine if there's one connective, we'll determine it after we've laid out the possible values of the simple sentence. If there's more than one connective, then we are going to build up to the main connective. So we're going to determine the value of the negation first and the disjunction second. Okay, do you folks remember what how the negation is defined? Not true is? Not false is?
True.
Beautiful. Now what I'm going to do, because I'm done determining the value of the negated sentence, I'm going to X out the simple sentence values. Now I'm going to go to the disjunction. And I'm going to say, okay, true disjunction false is?
True.
False disjunction true is?
Also true.
Yes. All right, folks. You've done it. Oops, sorry about that. You've done it. This sentence is a logical necessity. This sentence is necessarily true. Why? Because there is no world, and there are only two possible worlds. There is no scenario in which the sentence ever comes out false. Pretty cool, huh?
Yeah.
What do we think?
When you don't have to, but could you give an example where the negation, you do the negation last?
Yeah, heck
That's
yeah.
the main conjunction?
Yeah, great question, Cameron. Well, I'm setting this up. I meant to, me eating, being a piggy in front of you folks reminded me, if you know anybody at Pierce who is experiencing some significant financial issues and food insecurity issues, please let them know that our stash food pantry, if I'm not mistaken, remains open. So I know my colleague in philosophy, Christopher Lay, works with the students who run Stash, and my understanding from him is that it's still open. So I mean, I know that things are really extra hard right now, and people are trying to work and go to school, and but they're still struggling. So if anybody needs help, and especially if they're not sure where to go, let them know they can come to me, call me, and or email me, and I will get them connected with the right people, because nobody should be going without. Okay, so logic. Cameron asked this great question: can we work a sentence that's governed by negation? Sure. Okay, here's an example. It's not the case that Cameron loves logic. Oh, here I go again. Darn it. Okay, hold on. I gotta go use my left hand. It's not the case that Cameron loves logic and Julianne wears glasses. Okay, so with the introduction of parentheses, and I know my parentheses are ugly and I apologize, but we get another way for us to, let me rephrase. With the introduction of parentheses, we can now do more than we could without them. So what parentheses do is they allow us to treat a compound sentence as a single unit, right? So what you're looking at is a negated sentence. So that means that the first sentence's values that we want to determine, let me rephrase that. The first set of values that we want to determine is the values for the conjunction. And then after that, we get to the negation. So what's our definition of the truth values for the conjunction? A conjunction is true when and only when
They're both true.
Right. Okay. So suppose that it's true that Cameron loves logic, but it's false that Julianne wears glasses. That means that the conjunction sentence is, so true conjunction false is,
So,
you're thinking of the disjunction. A conjunction is true when and only when. So both have to be the case in order for the conjunction to be true. Okay, so false. Now we take the negation and we say it's not the case that whatever the value is of the conjunction. Does that make sense? So what's our value? Not false is
True.
true. Beautiful. Really good. Now, one of the cool things about working with these truth definitions is once you've got the truth definitions down, and some of us learn them by just purely mechanical means, we just effectively memorize the definitions. Some of us need to understand the meaning of each of the connectives. But once we get the machinery down, if you will, we can churn out truth tables for all sorts of variously complicated sentences. And then we can do things like ask the question by way of a truth table. So from the standpoint of truth functionality, is this sentence what's known as a tautology, or a necessarily true sentence? Or is this sentence self-contradictory? It's always false. Is this sentence contingently true? Right? Does that make sense? Right? We can now employ in a more technical way. It's narrow, but it still is a more technical way, the notion of logical necessity. What do we think? And while you're thinking about that, let me go back to where we are this week. Okay, so what we already know what an argument is. We understand what truth values are. We've talked about soundness from at least last week on. I haven't really talked much about reading for logic. I think, not that it's not important, but I think that's something that you can work on your own. We've talked about the Boolean connectives, not only what they are in terms of moving from ordinary English into symbolic logic notation, but also how we define them in terms of truth tables. And then we've begun looking at some features of churning out a set of truth values for a given sentence. So we've got some of the basics. What I want to do now is ask how you're doing, what sorts of questions, problems, confusions you have. And then, so one other thing, by the way, the material in chapter 6, I'm making optional. When it does come time for you to work the quiz that involves some of that chapter 6 material, let me know if any of it doesn't go well for whatever reason. Because I'm planning to make that extra credit. I just haven't figured out yet how to kind of what the process will be whereby I make that happen. But anything that's optional ends up being extra credit for you. So we've got some of the basics. What I don't want to do, given everything else you have going on, and given the fact that we're spending also this week preparing for our exams, I don't want to push more material your way, but I think we have a good foundation. So what I want to know now is if you have specific questions, problems, confusions that you want to go over. And then if you say, no, I don't have any now, but some may come up later, remember, I'm around. Not only do I have regular office hours, but if you want to meet outside of office hours, I'm very happy to do so. It's just a matter of us organizing our schedules. Okay. So what are you thinking?
Is negation, disjunction, and conjunction in chapters 4 and 5?
Right.
Okay.
And then,
so
go ahead.
Be on this exam on Sunday.
Right. So all we're doing for Sunday. So sorry, bear with me for just a sec, because that you've reminded me, Hannah, that I wanted to. Okay. So look through some of this. So it should be the case that you when you're looking at this that you say, oh yeah, this looks familiar, right? Now I recognize here there's this notation that wasn't, if memory serves, wasn't in the chapters that we had covered for this exam. But I think you're clear on what it means. But as we go through this, I mean, it should be the case that the format of the exercises and the type of exercise is familiar to you, right? That said, let's see. So remember too, unlike the quizzes where there's no time limit, right? Here we've got a bit over 2 hours. If for whatever reason, you are finding yourself pressed for time, I hope that's not the case, because even though we only have 13 exercises, some of them are a bit more complicated than others. But if you do find yourself pressed for time, let me know, connect with me. I want to work with you on this. I don't want you to have the experience that I think both Hannah and Julianne talked about avoiding with the quizzes. Namely, I don't want you to feel like deer in headlights where you're nervous and so you sort of intellectually shut down. You want to keep thinking. Okay. So, anything that you're dying to talk about? And promise me you'll feel comfortable with letting me know if you want to chat outside of class or outside of office hours, right? You won't be shy about that.
Yeah.
Yeah? Okay. Because remember, Walter and I, well, actually, you can't see Stewie, but we're all here to help.
If we want extra practice problems to do,
Yes.
would you post that on the modules on Canvas?
Yeah. Thank you for reminding. So yes, Hannah, you've reminded me. I think it was last week. I think it was Berman or some camera. I don't know. Somebody last week said, "Hey, the stuff that we were working on, can we have that?" And that was you, Berman, right? Yeah. So if we go to our homepage and we go under handouts and additional practice, I posted some stuff, but I realized that what I forgot to do was post because for some reason that I didn't have the answer key for one of the exercise sets. And I mean, this is an old set that I've had for forever. But I've got, so let me pull this over a little bit. I've got this extra practice. Try that, Hannah. And if you say, yeah, this is fine, but I want more of this other type, please don't be shy about telling me. Okay? Because either I'll already have it somewhere in my repositories from other iterations of the system, or if it's something that is pretty specific to what Dr. Schnee has created for the textbook, then I'll just go ahead and make some. But don't be shy about letting me know, okay? Good. And yeah, I'm actually going to leave this page up so that I can remember that I have to post the key for you. Anything else that you want to talk about? Please also, I don't want you to feel like you're guinea pigs. I want you to feel like, like we are working on this together. So if when you go into particularly the exam, but if you go into the quiz or you go into the exam and you say, we really didn't talk about this exercise or maybe more than one exercise, flag those somehow and let me know. So because I have no problem with taking a look at those and seeing if, I should have talked about these, or, oh, okay, no worries, I'll make some extra credit of, in other words, if you feel like your work has been compromised because we didn't cover something That shouldn't happen, but if it does happen, I want you to let me know. Otherwise, I'm here, I'm available. Feel free to chat. In fact, I don't know, Abdul, if you want to stick around for a minute, we can talk about making sure that you're comfort. Well, actually, did you already say this, that you think you're comfortable with the finishing the quiz? Do you? But here's my question though: if you're comfortable with finishing the quiz, fine. But do you then think that you might want to have some more time to get started on the exam?
I'm gonna give it my best shot, and if I think that I need more time, maybe I can email you.
Yeah, please do. Yeah.
Okay, but I think it should be fine. I think I can go through the material tonight and
Okay.
get most of it done today.
Okay. Yeah, but I'd rather, obviously I want to make sure that you all are supported to do your best work. So don't let time pressure you,
I'll keep
because
it in mind.
we'll make that work. All right. Well, then if you folks are comfortable, then let's go ahead and end our session for today. But again, don't forget, I'm around. I'm here to help. I want to help. Also, don't forget our awesome tutor, Lindsay. Lindsay is available to help. I don't remember what their hours are offhand, but I think we've got them posted, right? So you can go to, so here's the discussion forum where if you can't make Lindsay's office hours, but you have a question or something, you can post the question. Alternatively, you can still go to the office hours. Don't forget that it's really easy to sign up for free logic tutoring, and you'll get or any philosophy tutoring, and you'll get the philosophy tutor Canvas page to appear on your Canvas dashboard. Also, don't forget that there is free tutoring for, I think, every single subject at Pierce. So just know that, even though we're not on campus to go to the Center for Academic Success, it's still open. Not the center itself in terms of the physical room, but everybody's still working. So if you want help with biology or math or chemistry or English, folks are still there to help. So if you're not sure how to take advantage of that, let me know and I'll help. Okay?
Sounds good.
All right. Sorry, I see a chat that I missed. I'm sorry.
No, that was me. I was just waiting for time to talk.
Oh, okay. I apologize because I missed it. Yeah. So Berman, stick around and I will see everybody else. If not later this week, then this time next week, or regular class meeting next week.
All right.
All right. Thanks. Have a good one, everybody.
Thank you so much. Have a good night.
Thanks. You too. Bye.